Hey, Planeswalkers, Mithras here. Hope you're doing well and staying safe. Today is one of my favorite days. No, it's not quite Christmas. No, it's not a holiday, but happy holidays to you around the world, first off and foremost, because we got a big week going on. Additionally, my friends, we are having a tier list day. That is correct. So I have a best of 3 post-Kaladesh historic tier list for you. I'm super excited to be covering this. First off, a tier list. What is it? How's it work? Well, it is a stack ranked order of decks in Magic the Gathering, decks that are going to perform better against those in the given list and then also within the meta. So I'm very excited to bring you this here. I do focus on a tier 1, 2, and 3 system, no halvesies system. I make a choice, I put it in there, and it's given on a culmination of all sorts of things: gameplay, mythic status, mythic qualifiers, tournaments, all kinds of things, your content, my content, lots of reading, and that's how we get these lists. So thank you very much for that. And additionally, what we're going to do is we're going to review the list, we're going to talk about the list, then we're going to talk about key trends and observations, because there's obviously a lot happens when we do this month over month and so forth. And then additionally, I'll come back and circle and walk through at a high level on some of those key decks that have made an impact for us this season, or month. Now, with that said, Planeswalkers, as always, just a huge thank you. I really, really do appreciate your support. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there. Additionally, like the video if you like it. You can like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter and Twitch. Stay up to date on content like this. Other ways to support the channel, down below in the description, like becoming a patron or a YouTube member. Lots of great ways to interact and benefits there, so thank you. And then I also have my Mythic Journey there shared for you on Untapped, and the companion app available for you if you want to share yours or track your stats as well. So Planeswalkers, with that said, let's go ahead and check out the tier list today. Boom, there it is. Well, I got 5 decks for you. I said 15 to 20, so hold on tight. We're coming up shortly here, but I did want to put this here because it is important. This is the first impression that you're going to get, and these are really some key decks coming out of the last month here in post-Kaladesh. So with that said, though, here's what we got going on in its totality, because that's why you guys came here. So this is what we are playing with today. And then additionally, Planeswalkers, if you do have questions or comments, please feel free to ask down below. Always happy to help. And then additionally, in the description, I do have the Discord server available for you, so you guys can hop in there and hang out. So first off, tier 1, we have Sultai mid-range, we have Jund Sacrifice, big switch up given over the pre-Kaladesh, so we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Tier 2, we got Paradox Engine combo, we have, and this is primarily the Simic one, we have Azorus Control, and there's obviously other ones there too. Azorus Control, we have Mono Red Goblins, 4-color mid-range, Rakdos Sacrifice, Temur Neoform, Orzhov Auras, Azorus Auras, Gruul Aggro, Selesnya Fauna Shaman, Mono Red Aggro, Mono Black Aggro, Mono Green, Rakdos Arcanist, Mono Red Burn, Band Control, Dimir Rogues, and No Color Control, or No Color Monument. So very, very excited about this list. Lots of things going on. Very happy to be sharing it with you. Lots of things. To be honest, it's very, very tight and compact in terms of a lot of these win rates. A lot of things going out there, but we have seen some pretty significant shifts. Again, this isn't everything. There are things like Boros vehicles, Mardu vehicles that I still want to run for you. So stay tuned, because we'll have a lot more decks coming your way in Historic as well. But definitely took advantage myself of the Friday Night Magic All Access, and that's also going to be a topic of discussion here about observations in a minute. So with that said, again, this is the list. It is available for you down below in the description. All the decks, all the links. My website also has the deck links, lists, all that for you in one spot to make it easier for you too. Now, quickly, we're going to get off this page. I'll come back to it in a second, but what I did want to do is I did want to talk about, obviously, some of these key trends and observations that we've definitely noticed. So first off, obviously the big one is Kaladesh. So the remastered drop, we've been out for a little bit over a month now. So the fruits of these impacts are starting to come to fruition. I'll honestly say it was a little bit slower, I think, than many people anticipated, but we're definitely seeing it. There were some key cards, obviously, that had a huge impact on the format, which is particularly why some of the decks are where they're at today. So those would be things like Fatal Push, very, very powerful. And then additionally, some of the other pickups and things like Orzhov Auras now that's a player, and UW Auras is SRAM, so giving another access to some draw engine and some very aggressive mulliganing has made a big difference. Now, even though we've seen a few things, we've seen some of the, again, even though I don't have them here, the Boros vehicles, the Mardu vehicles, we'll talk about that in a little bit. I think there's a lot of potential still left. And to say that per se, it was slightly underwhelming. A lot of people that I've chatted with, particularly in the historic space, there wasn't as big of an impact. We did pick up, like I said, some of that low-hanging fruit, some of these other changes, but really it helped fine-tune some of the decks that were already available. There wasn't like a big new influx, save for a couple things, so hold that thought. And that thought is Combo Land. That is right, my friend. So even though we had Neoform or Neostorm previously in a very powerful combo deck, we now have the Simic Paradox Engine deck or Paradox Engine decks. So this is definitely a true combo. It takes a little bit to get used to. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. You're going to want a lot of at-bats. But once you get used to it, once you get used to some of the pulls and the plays, very, very strong and successful deck, and certainly packs a punch. Now, there were some calls, definitely, that I'd seen that why it should be in a tier 1. I would definitely say it's not tier 1 right now. And I'm saying that because it's not tried and true. This was definitely over the last week. So I want to make that call out. It's got the potential to maybe get there. We'll see what happens. The meta could shift. The meta could adjust. There are a lot of things already available to disrupt that engine. And particularly in the best of 3 realm, give you a lot of access to be able to do that. So keep that in mind. Now, there is this influx. So despite, again, some of these things, in terms of it being underwhelming, again, in terms of some of that conversation, this was early out of the gate. Now, again, just taking some time, we're seeing some of that fallout. There has been an influx of some of these archetypes. Again, Paradox Engine, the vehicles. What I'm also saying is stay tuned, because we're going to need to keep pace, because I think Caldeum is going to bring us some new things that could impact Historic as well and enhance a lot of the Kaladesh Remastered things. Particularly, we're beginning to see vehicles, those things coming back, so that could have a decent impact. So we'll see. Just like you, I'm on the tip of my toes and can't wait to do this again for you soon. Now, one of the big things that I do want to call out here, again, seeing some of this becoming absorbed into Historic, becoming absorbed into the community, is really about the cost of entry to Historic. And part of the reason why I think Kaladesh maybe was underwhelming at the beginning, maybe we'll still have some time to be seen, is just that it was a big block. There are a lot of cards, and it's actually very costly. So quick shout out to MTG Goldfish or Saffron Olive in particular, Seth. My view is different than his view, and maybe the community's view potentially, and I could probably do a whole thing on this. So if you guys want to, I'm happy to do it. Just let me know in the comments. But the reality is it expensive? Yes. Is Modern expensive? Yes. Is Vintage expensive? Yes. You could argue that Standard is expensive. Yes. And yes, Magic Online or Arena is supposed to be easier to get into. We got a lot of free-to-play players. While you still got to acquire the cards at some point in real life, once COVID happens, I'm sure we'll be back and playing. This gives us a lot of ability to play at bats. So anyway, Saffron had created an article. It said it was like $1,700 a year to maintain competitiveness, all these things. You guys, I have not spent that much. I'm a creator myself. I'm not a creator like Saffron. I'm not going out trying to acquire all the cards. So my only point is, are there ways and paths to still play Historic? Yes. I started as a free-to-play player. I do spend a little bit of money, but I've hardly spent any money this year. I think I went and checked like $100. Seriously, $100. So you can definitely do it. I've taken advantage of Friday Night Magic All Access to play some of these decks for you to see if they're actually worth crafting. Would I craft them? Maybe. To be honest, there's very, very strong decks here. You don't need to go craft a ton to get the Paradox Engine deck. Now, you can absolutely get through the decks, or sorry, the sets and the cards if you wanted. There's smart ways to do it. Now, it takes time. That's the difference. That is the gotcha model. That is the, hey, I don't want to grind it out. I don't want to do these things. But if you enjoy playing it, you want to learn, you want to do those things, there's other options. So happy to, and I'm probably going to put together here's how you do this as a free-to-play player at some point here. Definitely soon, hopefully. But you guys let me know if that's something you want. Now, not going to get into it too much more, but again, definitely a thing to consider is just the cost of getting into Historic. I know it's been a topic of discussion, so thank you, Saffron, for driving that conversation and bringing it top of mind for everyone, because it is important. It is something that we should discuss as a community. All right, so next, another big impact, obviously, is hats off to our Zendikars Rising Championship, Brad Barkley. So one of the key things here that I always stress, and why I want to cover this for a second, is the deck of the one-off. Brad brought a off-meta UW control deck and took it down. So it's always good to have options. This is a great case study for you in terms of why you don't do 4-ofs for everything, why you do one, why you have an optimized sideboard, why you have all these things, because it does make a difference. It's not always going to happen, but the opportunity to have it happen and have that option that I've always argued is very, very important. So with that said, it has definitely shifted, not just Brad, but definitely what happened in the championship has definitely shifted some Historic. We're seeing a variety of decks and changes, and I'm saying a variety of decks, but really a variety of movement here in the tier list system today. Now, last but not least, I should probably talk about the tier list. I've done a lot of talking, a lot of observations, but things that are definitely crucial for us to cover and discuss. The biggest thing that I'll say here is we've definitely seen that healthy shift in the tier 1 to tier 2 meta. And to be honest, it's kind of a recursion or inversion of where we were like pre-Kaladesh. And part of that is we're seeing the sacrifice decks coming back. We're seeing the Sultai mid-range decks coming back. And honestly, if you guys can go check this out when I did the last one, it has to deal with that 4-color Yasharn shutting down the sack decks. But what's happened is the easy access to Fatal Push has changed that. So that's one of the reasons why Sultai midrange is more powerful again and why Jund Sacrifice is powerful again. Now, not all Jund Sac or Rakdos Sac may or may not actually play Fatal Push, believe it or not, because that's some of that departure of Yasharn. Now, I'm not saying don't play that, but that's just something I began to notice here within this new makeup and the shifts. Now, the other thing to call out again is that Paradox Engine, Simic, and whatever you name it. I've covered that I'm already slightly hesitant to put it into tier 1. I think it's justified. Still needs some time in at-bats, but maybe we'll find that out. And I do think there are good options, as I discussed, to kind of shift that out. So very, very important there. Again, I know in its totality this is not all the decks. Put this back here for us. Not all the decks, but hopefully Again, a good look, a good chunk. We've got some great things like Azorus Auras. We've got things like a Selesnya from the Shaman one, which is a lot of fun. You guys should check that one out. It's definitely craft heavy though. And again, lots of good shift and movement. We had the 4-color mid-range. It's now further down, again, due to Fatal Push, pushing it out of that spot. So things to kind of keep in mind there. Now, again, questions or comments, let me know down below. The Discord server is available for you in the description. Happy to discuss. If there are decks that you guys want to see, hear about, let me know. Maybe I covered them as well. With that said, Planeswalkers, again, huge thank you. I really, really do appreciate your support. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there. Additionally, like the video if you like it. You can like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter and Twitch. Stay up to date on content like this. With that said, we've talked about the tier list. We've seen the tier list. I've talked about some of the key observations and trends here in our best of 3 historic. We're going to go ahead now and close out today's tier list by covering and looking at really the top 4 here. Everyone knows Goblins probably pretty well enough. If you don't, go ahead and check out the videos, or my videos if you want, or videos, whatever. We're going to go ahead and take a look at some of these changes because it's pretty important. So first off, at a high level here, again, we have the Sultai mid-range. I do a deep dive of all these. We can see the Fatal Push here. I love the Pact of Negation in this particular one. It's all about the ramp. We have good control in the mid-range space and somewhat of the direct here between these. But it's really about getting to that end game very fast with Nissa. We have Euro. We have a lot of things that we can do with this particular deck. And then again, here's the sideboard with a lot of great options for us depending on what we're going to play. And I think this particular one was like a number 2 deck for Arena. Then we got Jund Sacrifice. So the thing that I like about this Jund version in particular, we're not stealing our opponent's creatures. We're taking a more proactive, just kill approach and going right for it there. The other thing that I like about Fatal Push being in the Sacrifice archetype now is that when you do remove something, you get easier, better access here with Fatal Push to hit things at 4. And a lot of good options here. And I do like the inclusion of Bolas of Citadel. We have some good other top-end options that kind of pop off and close out a match. And then again, a lot of nice options here to kind of close out in our sideboard. Then we got the Paradox Engine deck. So again, this was one, so I got a lot of stuff. 3 common, 7 mythic rare to make this one work. Really, really like this deck. You guys can check out my video on this one. I know there's a lot of misplays. I know that there's a lot. I did not get as much time with this as I would have liked, to be honest. And I also keep most of the footage raw for you. I'm not gonna edit all the stuff out and be like, oh, it's perfect. You can pick this deck up, and I think that's unrealistic. That's not my play style, unfortunately. So you guys can either live with it or you can live without it. Your choice. But this deck is super, super fun. It really moves fast. You can make it pretty aggressively and pretty successfully with the right cards. Certainly for turn 4 or 5, you can make the combo work. Can you make it work at turn 3? Potentially. Again, it's like having the perfect draw hand there. But what it does is it's all about getting this card in, untapping your stuff, and then pulling from your sideboard and getting, where are you? Aetherflux Reservoir. So then what you do is you pay that 50 life and it deals 50 damage to any target, which is going to be your opponent, and going to close things out. So a lot of times I pulled that first. You can obviously always pull other options first. I do it just to get it in my hand, as long as I know that they're not going to make me discard it. Then I know once it's in, and we can go from there. But again, that is the idea of this combo. Very, very impressive, very fast, and super fun. If you do like combo decks, certainly feel free to craft it. I think it's great and a lot of fun, or if you got some extra stuff that you want to try out. And then obviously we got some nice land pickups and stuff from Kaladesh as well. All right, then last but not least, we got Brad Barkley's UW control deck here. So this thing is very cool. It's very important. Again, we can see we got the coverage for Grafdiggers. We got Baffling End. Now we get into a lot of these 1-ofs. Very, very important there. And then the higher end of the curve kind of flattens out a little bit. So those are a lot of things to consider, but really having this successful 2-drop option makes for a huge, huge difference. And then as we move into kind of our sideboard, we've got a lot of things we can move in and help us with in terms of the actual control of the match, which is pretty powerful there. So with that said, Planeswalkers, again, those are the decks, deck lists, information, tier list down below for you. I'll bring this one back here one last time. If you do have questions or comments, like I said, let me know. If you want to see something, let me know, and I'll add it into my historic queue as we get to it there. Love historic. I know a lot of people need to make that transition, like myself, into playing historic from standard because of whatever tournaments or gameplay, MQs, all that stuff. It is pretty important. So Planeswalkers, enjoy the list. I was very happy to cover it for you today. I have a lot of fun doing these things. Again, happy holidays as well. Stay safe, take care, and one last big thank you again. I really appreciate your support. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there. Additionally, like the video if you like it. You can like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter and Twitch. Stay up to date on daily content like this. I hope you enjoyed the shift in terms of the meta. We've got a lot of great things happening, a lot of cool things. Again, I think we'll continue to see changes. I think Chaldeum will have some impacts, as I already mentioned, called out some of the things with the crew and the vehicles and all that. We'll see where we land. But obviously, Historic's a fast-paced game. Cheap spells that do a lot of stuff is really important here. So Planeswalkers, again, we covered the tier list. We talked about what a tier list is. We covered some key observations, timestamps down below if you guys want to check it out. And we talked about some of the key decks here, post Kaladesh. So stay tuned. Again, always much more tier list coming, standard, historic, best of 1, best of 3s, all those things. Love doing it for you. Have a good, nice, safe, happy holidays, Planeswalkers. We'll see you again soon. Mithras out. Take care, and until next time, my friends.